So in previous video, we did some strengthening exercises. So as we progress further, we are going to do more and more strengthening exercises which are concentrated on your core stability. Because in martial art, core stability is the most important part, because when you are moving around, you have to make sure that muscle fibers are tuned together and they are moving in sync. So after this, now we are going to talk about something about movements. So when you do movements in any martial art, you have to make sure that those basic movements have a synchronicity and you are moving at one level. So one of the most basic movement that we have to do is that your hip should move 1, 2. So when you're doing this, you have to avoid getting up and coming down. So when you come up and come down, then your stability of your core is disrupted. So you start having a bouncing movement when you're practicing the form. That is going to affect your circulation of your energy. So you have to practice this where you keep your hands you can keep on your hip, or you can just keep them lying down or behind, and then you move right in one plane and left. So when you are doing this, you are moving in one plane. So you are basically trying to move as if you are sliding on a bench. So when you do this sideways, this keeps your head straight. So when you're walking and all, you don't have a bouncing motion. After this, you do the same thing in front and back. So when doing this, you are going front and then you come back. So this is called Ban Mabu. It's like you go in front, stable there, then you are coming back, stable there. So while in this position, again, the knees are not crossing your toes. In front also, the knees are not crossing the toes. So this is very essential, no matter what step you do, that you have to maintain this. So when you're doing this, front. So when you do front, make sure your leg is not straight. If you have a straight leg in Tai Chi Chuan, it is going to be very vulnerable, because you are not able to stabilize yourself, and sometimes if you try to move back, then you might damage your knee. So in this position, you have to relax and then you come back and then you move front. So you can notice I am not doing this, I'm doing this. So it is moving against one plane. Okay. So when you're moving forward, you will notice that my toe is shifting towards a 45-degree angle with respect to your front toe. And when you're back, it is shifting towards a 90-degree angle towards the front. Another thing, when looking from the front, it is going to look like this. So you are not holding your heel in one line. If you do this, then your balance will be not stable. So when you're doing this, you need to have approximately one palm distance between the two heels. So when you do this, you are moving forward and you are backward. So here the body is very stable. So when you're doing forward motion, your whole core is stable, your body is erect, and when you're moving backward also, your core is stable. So when you're moving backward, your eyes are still in front, but your chest is 45-degree angle. And when you're moving front, your eyes and chest is in front, and your right leg is again at the 45-degree angle. So this is a very basic movement. So these movements have their names. So when you go back, it is called Ban Mabu. So Mabu is a horse stance, which is like this. Okay. And Ban Mabu means it is half kind of. So only one leg is going in a horse stand. When you are going front, it's called Gongbu. Gongbu is basically an archer's position. So in archery, when the archer is actually throwing an arrow, they are never going backwards. They are actually in front. So this becomes a support stance, and then the archer is holding like this. So this is called a Gongbu. So it's a very strong position for an archer to withstand the force of the arrow that is throwing. Same way, let us talk about, since we talk about stances, let us explain what is a Mabu is. Mabu is like, you have seen many Kung Fu movies with Jackie Chan and all. They have this position where they are standing like this. So this position is called Mabu. Mabu means, Ma means horse. So it is called a horse stance. So why it is called horse stance is because when you are sitting on a horse, when you are riding a horse, the horse body is along this line. Your legs are in the pedal. So when you are standing like this, this horse is actually pushing against your thighs. It is not collapsing like this, so it is pushing. So you have to imagine that you are sitting on a horse in this position and you are riding a horse. So your body is kind of floating on it. You cannot sit on the horse. So a lot of people practice this kind of stance, which is very much straining on your thighs and knees, and it is not going to yield much of a force for you. So that is why it is very important that you understand why it is called Mabu, why it is called a horse stance. Because when you're standing in a horse stand, it should be like as if you are riding a horse and you are floating in air. So this is a horse stance. Then there is another stance called Shubu. So Shubu is you're standing in this where your right leg is bent, again not crossing the toes. The knees are not crossing the toes, and your left leg is basically suspended. It is just like empty. Shu means empty. So it's an empty step that you are keeping there. So when it's an empty step, you are not putting any force. It is just there for a support. So most of the stances are happening like this. Okay. So this is very important. Sometimes the Shubu has this position where you are facing in front. That time the leg correspondingly going towards 45-degree angle. So it is very essential that you always maintain a good position. So all these position, the starting one, the basic one, then you have the horse stance, then you have the Gongbu or the arrow stance, and then you have Ban Mabu, which is like half of the horse stance. So these are the basic stances that you use throughout the form, and they are very essential for you to practice, because if you don't practice this basic stance, later on the actual form is going to be very difficult to learn. So keep on practicing this. You look at our other videos, you like them, share them, and subscribe to our channel so that more and more videos you will get notified about it, and you start practicing it right now from the basics to most advanced. And right now we are just about to start with the actual form. Before that, we have to be prepared. So spend at least half an hour in a daytime and start practicing this. Spend more time on practicing the movements and standing meditation, and you will start to feel the difference in your body. You start enjoying your way of life more and more. Thank you.